Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely.
Awesome. Today we're focusing on a report from Motilal Oswal Financial Services, India.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, this thing is jam-packed with insights about the future of India's capital market.
Sounds interesting.
Oh, it is. Whether you're like a seasoned investor or just someone who's, kind of curious about this whole booming market, get ready to have your mind blown. We're going to cut through the jargon, break it down.
Yeah, make it make sense.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people are interested in this, but sometimes these reports are, a little hard to decipher.
Oh, totally. So we're here to help.
Awesome.
So the report's analysts, Prey Shane and Niti Agarwal, right?
Right.
They believe that India's capital market is entering this multi-year growth phase.
Yeah, they make a pretty strong case for it. It's an exciting time for the Indian market.
Multi-year growth, okay? That sounds promising. But what's the fuel behind this optimism? Is it just hype?
I don't think so. I mean, there are some pretty powerful forces at play here.
Okay, like what? School of tea.
Well, one of the biggest factors is India's demographics.
Okay.
You've got this young, expanding workforce,
Yeah.
and then you combine that with this rapidly growing middle class.
Yeah.
It means there's this huge surge of people with the means and the motivation to invest.
So more potential investors.
Yeah.
Got it. But India's population has always been huge. So what's different now?
What's different is access.
Access.
Technology has been a game changer.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about digital tools like E-KYC.
E-KYC, remind me.
It's a digital way to verify your identity, makes opening accounts so much easier. And then there's UPI.
UPI.
The
Really?
mobile payment system, right?
Yeah.
It's made transactions incredibly easy.
So easy.
And these innovations, along with things like account aggregation,
Account aggregation, what's that?
it basically lets you share your financial data securely between different institutions. So all these things are making investing more user-friendly than ever.
So breaking down those barriers to entry.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But what about the regulatory landscape? Is that playing a role too?
Oh, absolutely. The report actually emphasizes that recent regulatory reforms have been instrumental in boosting investor confidence. There's this greater focus now on transparency and accountability, which makes the market more attractive to both domestic and foreign investors.
So it's like a win-win. More security and more appeal for everyone.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a growing investor base and a more robust regulatory framework. That's painting a pretty optimistic picture. But
Yeah.
how much growth are we actually talking about?
Okay, so the report highlights this really interesting statistic.
Okay, hit me.
In the U.S., demat account penetration, which is essentially the percentage of people investing in the stock market, is around 62%.
52%, okay.
In India, it's currently only 12%.
Whoa, only 12%?
Yeah.
That seems incredibly low, considering, India's population.
It is, and that's why the report is so bullish. There's just massive untapped potential for growth there.
I mean, yeah, just imagine what happens when that number starts to decline.
It's going to be huge.
Okay, so big picture, this growth is exciting, but let's break it down who specifically benefits from this boom in the Indian capital market?
All right, so the report, it dives deep into various sectors. One of the most interesting, I think, is asset management companies, or AMCs.
Okay.
They're experiencing tremendous growth thanks to the rising popularity of systematic investment plans, or SIPs.
SCs, yeah, I've been hearing a lot about those lately. What's driving their popularity?
Well, SIPs allow people to invest small amounts regularly,
Right.
which makes them a very accessible entry point.
Makes sense.
It's kind of like setting up a recurring payment, but for your investments.
Okay, I like that.
And the report actually highlights that monthly SIP contributions in India are at record highs.
Wow, so people are really embracing this approach. It's like building a savings habit, but for the stock market. But is this a sustainable trend?
Oh, absolutely. SIPs encourage a disciplined, long-term investment approach.
Right, which is usually a good thing, right?
Right. It tends to yield better results over time. The report actually predicts a 15 to 18% annual growth in assets under management, or AUM, for the industry.
15 to 18% growth, that's impressive.
Yeah.
But AMCs aren't the only ones riding this wave, right?
You're right, they're not. The report also highlights some interesting developments in the world of exchanges and brokers. We're actually seeing a shift in the landscape with discount brokers emerging as major players.
Discount brokers. Okay, so those are the platforms with the super low fees and the streamlined online interfaces, right?
Exactly. They're attracting a new generation of investors with their tech-savvy approach and their competitive pricing. And this is putting pressure on, those traditional brokers to adapt and innovate.
I can see how that would shake things up a little bit.
Yeah.
But is it just about the cost?
Yeah.
Or are discount brokers offering something else that's attracting investors?
I think it's definitely not just about cost. They're winning on convenience and ease of use.
Yeah.
Their platforms are often more intuitive.
Right.
Especially for, younger investors who are just so comfortable with technology.
Right. They've grown up with it. It's second nature.
Exactly.
So they're kind of disrupting the traditional brokerage model. I like it.
It's an interesting evolution.
Yeah. But the report also mentioned some new regulations for futures and options, or F&O.
Yeah.
What's the deal with those?
So those are aimed at curbing excessive speculation
Okay.
and making the market more stable. So there might be some short-term adjustments,
Sure.
But ultimately, these regulations are designed to create a healthier and more sustainable trading environment.
Okay, so a little bit of a bump in the road, but the long-term outlook is still positive.
Yeah, exactly. And the report even gets specific.
Oh, does it?
It offers buy or neutral recommendations for several companies. They're really bullish on companies like HDFC, AMC, Nippon AMC,
Okay.
and Angel One, which is a major discount broker.
Yeah.
They also BSE, which is the Bombay Stock Exchange,
Okay.
given its potential to challenge the dominance of the National Stock Exchange, or NSE.
So they're pinpointing some real investment opportunities within this overall growth story.
Exactly.
This is getting interesting.
It is. And you know what? We've only scratched the surface.
Oh, no.
There's so much more to uncover in this report, especially when it comes to the evolving role of wealth managers and the growing importance of financial inclusion in the Indian market.
Okay, well, consider me hooked.
All right.
Let's dive deeper into those aspects next.
All right, so let's shift our focus a bit to wealth managers.
Okay.
They're kind of riding another wave of growth here, fueled by the rising number of high net worth individuals, or HNIs, in India.
HNIs. Okay, the folks with a lot of wealth to manage. Got it.
Right.
But don't traditional banks already kind of cater to them.
Yeah.
What's driving the specific demand for these wealth management services?
It's not just about having money, it's about managing it effectively.
Okay.
HNIs often have these complex financial needs
Right.
that go beyond what a typical bank can offer.
Give me an example.
We're talking about things like estate planning, managing investments across, multiple asset classes, and
Yeah.
sometimes even dealing with international investments.
Okay, so it's about specialized expertise and a more tailored approach.
Exactly. And there's another interesting dynamic at play here.
Yeah.
The report talks about intergenerational wealth transfer,
Okay.
meaning a new generation of HNIs is inheriting wealth.
Right.
And they have different expectations.
That's fascinating. So the wealth management industry kind of needs to adapt to the preferences of this new generation.
Absolutely. This generation is tech savvy.
More open to alternative investments.
Right.
They expect a more personalized, digitally driven experience.
It's a whole new era for wealth management.
It is.
So what are some of the key strategies that the report highlights for growth in this sector?
Well, two key strategies really stand out. The first is expanding into lower tier cities.
Okay.
Wealth is no longer concentrated solely in those major metropolitan areas.
Makes sense. Go where the clients are. What's the second strategy?
The second is leveraging technology.
Okay.
We're seeing the rise of, robo-advisory apps
Right.
that use algorithms to provide investment advice.
Okay.
There are also digital platforms that, streamline client interactions, make it easier for HNIs to manage their portfolios.
It's like combining human expertise with the efficiency of technology to create a more seamless experience.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this brings us to another group of players that are quietly shaping the Indian capital market.
Intermediaries?
Intermediaries, okay.
These are the companies that kind of operate behind the scenes.
Okay, give me an example. Who are we talking about here?
Companies like KMS and KFIN Technologies are key players.
Okay.
They provide registrar and transfer agent services,
Okay.
which essentially means they, handle all the administrative tasks involved in buying and selling mutual funds.
Gotcha. So they're the ones making sure that the whole system runs smoothly.
You could say that.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that these companies are now like diversifying their offerings. They're moving into areas like AIFs, which are alternative investment funds,
Okay.
portfolio management services, insurance, and even lending.
Wow. So they're expanding their footprint and becoming even more like integral to the financial ecosystem.
Exactly. And this is all part of a bigger trend that the report, emphasizes: digitization and financial inclusion.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Sure.
It's a hot topic kind of everywhere these days, but how is it like specifically playing out in the Indian capital market?
Think of it as a UPI moment for personal finance.
UPI as in like the mobile payment system that's kind of revolutionized transactions in India.
Yes. The report suggests that digitization is having a similarly transformative effect on how people invest and manage their money.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Huh.
What are some of the key innovations that are driving this transformation?
Well, we already talked about, robo-advisory apps.
Right.
They're becoming increasingly popular because they offer low-cost, algorithm-driven investment advice.
Right.
But there's another innovation that's really exciting: Account Aggregator.
Account aggregators, that's a new one. What are those?
Imagine a system that allows you to, securely share your financial data between different institutions with your consent. That's what account aggregators do.
Okay.
They simplify things like getting loans, tracking investments, and managing your finances across different platforms.
So it's about putting you like in control of your financial data.
Right.
And making like the whole system more efficient.
Precisely. And this is especially important for financial inclusion.
Right.
By making it easier for people to access and manage their financial data, we're opening up opportunities for those who have traditionally been excluded from, the formal financial system.
That's a powerful point. It's not just about like convenience for existing investors. It's about like bringing more people into the fold.
Exactly. The report really emphasizes the vast untapped potential in those lower tier cities.
Right.
We're talking about a huge population that's just beginning to engage with the capital market.
So there's a huge growth opportunity there.
Huge.
But like reaching this underserved segment requires a tailored approach, right?
Absolutely. The industry is responding by offering, services in regional languages,
Oh, smart.
providing investment options with smaller ticket sizes,
Right.
and developing products that are specifically designed to meet the needs of this market.
It's about making financial services more accessible and relevant to like a wider audience.
Yes, democratizing finance, so to speak.
I like that.
But with all this talk about growth and opportunity, we also need to consider the regulatory landscape.
Right.
The report spends some time analyzing recent changes to futures and options, or F&O regulations.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What's the story there?
Okay.
Why the changes and what kind of impact are they having?
So the recent F&O regulations are primarily focused on curbing excessive speculation and making the market more stable. They introduce things like stricter position limits, higher margin requirements,
Okay, yeah.
and tighter surveillance mechanisms.
So it's about protecting investors
Yes,
and ensuring the long-term health of the market.
exactly. These changes might cause some short-term adjustments for, brokers, exchanges, and investors.
Sure.
But the goal is to create a more sustainable and investor-friendly trading environment.
It sounds like setting some ground rules
Yes,
to like prevent reckless behavior.
that's a good way to put it. And, regulation is an ongoing process.
Of course.
As the market evolves, so too will the rules and mechanisms designed to govern it.
It's a dance between innovation and regulation.
Precisely, and that's what makes this market so fascinating to watch. But let's step back for a moment. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
What stands out to you as the most significant takeaway?
For me, it's the sheer scale of the opportunity in the Indian capital market.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just like a short-term trend. We're talking about a fundamental shift driven by, demographic changes, technological advancements,
Right.
and a growing culture of investment.
I completely agree. And what's even more exciting is that this growth has the potential to transform the financial landscape, not just in India, but, globally.
That's a powerful thought. It begs the question, how can our listener participate in this growth story?
That's a great question, whether it's exploring SIPs, researching those discount brokers,
Right.
learning about new investment avenues like AIFs, or simply educating themselves about the Indian capital market.
Yeah.
There are countless possibilities.
It's about taking that first step,
Yeah.
however small, and becoming a part of this, exciting journey.
Exactly. The future of finance is unfolding right before our eyes, and India is leading the charge.
Well said.
Yeah.
We talked about the potential, like, in those lower tier cities, but what does that actually look like? Does the report give any specific examples of how the industry is adapting, to cater to these new investors?
It does. One fascinating trend is the rise of financial services in like regional languages.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're seeing investment platforms and educational materials being made available in languages other than English,
Makes sense.
really breaking down those language barriers
Right.
that previously prevented people from participating.
Yeah, that's smart. It makes investing less intimidating and more accessible. What else?
Another interesting development is the introduction of investment options with smaller ticket sizes.
Yeah.
Traditionally, certain investment products, they required a significant minimum investment,
Right.
which was a barrier for a lot of people. But now we're seeing products designed specifically for like those who want to start small
Right. Yeah.
and gradually build their portfolios.
So opening the door for like a wider range of investors. It's the concept of micro saving, but applied to investing.
Exactly.
Are there any specific examples from the report that kind of illustrate this?
Yeah, the report mentions that some companies are launching SIPs, those systematic investment plans we talked about,
Right.
with incredibly low minimum investment amounts,
Like
like
that.
even as low as a few hundred rupees per month.
Wow.
This allows people to, kind of dip their toes into the market
Right.
without feeling overwhelmed.
That's a game changer. It makes like investing seem achievable for almost anyone. It feels like this report is really emphasizing this idea that the future of the Indian capital market is about like inclusivity.
It is, and that's what makes this market so exciting to follow. It's not just about, big institutions and wealthy individuals anymore.
Right.
It's about creating opportunities for everyone to participate and benefit from this growth story.
It's a powerful message. Well, we've explored a lot of fascinating trends and insights in this deep dive, from the rise of those discount brokers and the evolving role of wealth managers to the transformative impact of digitization and the push for financial inclusion. There's a lot to be optimistic about.
I couldn't agree more. The Indian capital market is at an inflection point,
Yeah.
and the future looks incredibly bright.
For our listeners, I think the key takeaway here is that there's a place for everyone in this evolving landscape, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting your journey. There are tools, resources, and opportunities available to help you navigate this exciting market.
That's a great point to end on.
Yeah,
Don't just watch from the sidelines.
right.
Dive in, explore, and become a part of this incredible growth story.
Well said. That wraps up our deep dive into the Indian capital market. We hope you found it insightful and, dare we say, inspiring. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.